Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Mil-Spec KLR. I'm your host. My name is Los, and today we're getting ready for vacation. What are we doing to get ready for that vacation? We're getting upgraded air raid sirens. You and the guy she told you not to worry about. Oh yeah. So here we are, we're working on getting an upgraded set of air raid sirens that I got off of the Amazons. So there's a slight comparison between the two. The reason why I'm swapping them out is because that smaller one you see here in my hand now, although those did their job, I just kind of got tired of the complaints of it sounding like an angry leaf blower. So went back on the Amazons and found this set here from Vixen Horns, which is the same manufacturer from before. So here I go. I'm going to kind of get into taking this siren apart, and I'm going to sand it down real quick so I can prep it for paint and get it sprayed up so it matches the rest of the bike. So I decided to take this opportunity in this video to kind of explain or show how I do my own stenciling. All the painting and the stars are all done by me by hand, and I decided I was going to go ahead and go through that process with you just to kind of show you what I do. Like I said, all my stenciling is done by me by hand in the most basic fashion that I ever come up with. I'm pretty sure there are easier ways to do it, but this is just the way that works for me, and I've done it ever since. I've done it with my ammo cans, I've done it with my gas cans, I've done it with my helmet, and now I'm going to do it again with these new air raid sirens. So if you're wondering what we got going on for vacation, well, I'm going back down to Texas. Why, you ask? Because I got my brother-in-law and my boy Romero down there who would like to ride. I need to get out of here. I never really taken a vacation where it was just go there, relax, point in a certain direction, go ride. So that's what we're doing. So another thing is, at the time of this recording, we're also getting ready for a very special holiday, Memorial Day. Memorial Day is very special to me because, as I mentioned before in my previous videos, I have served in the U.S. Army. I served for 8 years and I have 2 tours. And during one of those tours, I actually ended up losing some good friends of mine, some of which were in my unit, others who I worked alongside of on my FOB. So this is actually a very near and dear holiday that I'm going to make sure that I celebrate the best way I know how, by spreading patriotism in remembrance of my friends who are no longer with us, as well as all the other service members who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And the way that I decided I'm going to celebrate is I'm getting the KLR all fixed up. We got a new set of sirens for her, a little bit of noise makers, get some crowd pleasers together. And I'm going to do what I like to call getting her in full dress. And we're going to go right off into the countryside of Texas and spread some love for our country. So what I got going on here is, like I mentioned before, we got to get these painted up to match the bike. So here I am. I disassembled both the horns. I cut the other one off. I'm just going to show you the one because it's the same process for both. And I'm just going through and sanding down what I believe to be powder coat. Seems like it's powder coat. Not very good quality powder coat, but got to scuff it down nonetheless. So here we go. I got my little bits of sandpaper. I'm just kind of going at it, scuff the surface so that way the new paint has something nice and grippy to cling to. So full dress, what I like to call full dress, is I went ahead last year. I had an idea, and I went with said idea, gathered the materials for said idea, and did the best I could to fabricate this idea and bring it to fruition. That being, I made a custom set of flagpoles that I mount to the back of the bike. Now there may be some images out there of what I'm talking about. In case there isn't, just stick around for the end of the video and I'm going to give you a good look-see at what the bike looks like in full dress. Now, the flagpoles I fabricated myself using random bits of steel that I got from the local hardware store. This is just my first prototype. I do plan on making a second set that's a little bit more refined, and I want to include a finial of some sort. For those of you who don't know what a finial is, that's the topper on the top of the pole. Either it be the ball or a little spiky do bit. I'm thinking about doing the spike just because it might look cooler. But that's pretty much what I would consider full dress. Now, as far as the flag poles, I said poles in plural, there's two of them. One of those will be the American flag I'm flying, and the other one I have a US Army flag. So that's why. And my intention is for the entirety of Memorial Day, I will be riding around with the flags on my bike. Also keep in mind that these aren't your typical flags you would see on your normal bikes, the little ones, you know, the little like 6-inch by 5-inch flags, whatever. You know, I've seen most of the riders who run an American flag, they have the little one. No, mine are 5x3, both of them. And the flag poles are 6 foot tall. And the bike plate that I mount them to is about 4.5 feet off the ground. So essentially my flags are going to be sticking up almost 10 feet, give or take. And yeah, that's how I plan on doing it. Is it scary to ride with those on the back of the bike? Very much so. Am I going to do it anyways because I just feel so much more patriotic and prideful? Definitely yes. It's worth it. Every moment that I get scared that the back of my bike's going to get ripped out from under me, it's worth it. Alright guys, well I'm sorry for this part. I should have double checked this and went through this a little further, but unfortunately you're going to have a couple more minutes of me sending on this siren here, and then we're going to move on to the cover for the other blade set there. So I didn't realize until going through the voiceover portion of this video that, man, that's a lot of needless watching. So sorry for that part. I'm still learning. I'm still new to this. I'm trying my best right now, alright? Trying to do my best, so sorry for this part, but grin and bear it. We'll move on to some new stuff here momentarily. Alrighty everyone, we're finally done with that portion of the video, and now we're going to get into cleaning these bad boys off, getting all that sand and material off of the siren and its bits and pieces, and get it ready for paint. Surprise, surprise, today's special paint is olive drab green. Alright, who would have thought? Now the paint I use is Krylon's Ultra Flat Olive Drab Green in their Camouflage series of paints. I love the stuff because it applies very evenly, and as long as you're not putting that sprayer nozzle on that Red can right up against the work, it's not going to get thick enough to where it starts to drip or to bleed, whatever you want to call it. So it's really how do you say, forgiving when you use it. And if for any reason, because it's an ultra flat paint that I've come to find out, if I scratch it in any way, like if I rub my ammo can against a rock or something, or a tree branch or anything in the past, all I had to do is go over there, cover up the star with something real quick, piece of paper, and just give it a quick little spritzy of the paint. The new freshly sprayed paint virtually blends in with the already older paint that was there that you're covering up, and as long as there's no deep scratches, everything else just pretty much disappears. And even if there was a kind of a deep scratch, because it's a flat paint, it's actually not noticeable unless you're actually looking for defects like that. So that's why I really like this paint, because it works really well. It's affordable for sure, and if you want to do some touch-ups and dress up the bike, you know, then you can very easily. It's a little spritzy, and that's it. Alright, so we got done with the fan cover for the siren, and now we're moving on to the main body motor assembly. And I'm trying to take a little bit more care to make sure that I don't cover the inside of the fan body where the motor sits, so to keep it from getting sticky or anything like that from the paint drying. So, but here we are, we got the main body going on, and boy is it looking good. Definitely look better than that baby blue or extremely light blue that it came from the factory with. That wasn't gonna cut it. Alright, here we go. Back inside after the paint has thoroughly dried. There's the fan covers, there's the fans, and here we go. So here's the process of how I create my stencils. Go online and I find an example of a star. Here we go, we find this one here. Bam, there it is. And pretty simply, all I do is Control P, and then check the printer settings, and then I just print it. And then hopefully, if the settings are correct for what I'm looking for when it prints, I'll have an idea of the size of the star that came out. So here we go, first print. It's a little on the big side, and I cut off the tip of the star there. So that way ain't gonna work. So I'm gonna have to go back again, but I like this star pattern. Fits very well. So all I do here is I change it from portrait to landscape. That should keep me from cutting off the edge of the star. And then I just go into the settings, and then I fix the size when I go into the settings to more appropriately match the size that I need, and then print that out. So here we go. I successfully print out a star without cutting off the tip of the star or anything like that. That seems a little on the small side, so I went ahead and printed up a slightly larger one. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of my stencil creation here. So what I'm doing is, what I found for my other stencils is, if you just use just regular paper, the paper absorbs the moisture of the paint and it gets flimsy and kind of floppy, and then it tends to stick to your work, and then that drags across your work you're trying to cover, and it just makes a mess. So what I found is, if you take masking tape, and you see me here, I am very carefully laying the tape against each other or butting it up against each other, because if you don't do that, you create seams, and then the seams will be shown in the paint. So to prevent that, I'd very carefully lay them up against each other. You might be asking, well, why don't you just kind of overlay them? When you go to overlay the tape for something like this, some kind of small, you tend to, the razor blade tends to grab that tape and then pull it away, and then it might actually make a defect in the tape. And I'm trying to do this as proficient as I can, but at the same time have a little bit of a handmade feel to it, you know what I mean? But I still want it to look nice as best as I can. So by butting the tape against each other, it'll keep that tape from wanting to curl up, and it just makes it easier for the cutting process, because you're not having to cut through 2 layers of tape. You just cut through the one and then transition over to the next one. So fast forward here, 'cause I figured that'd be kind of boring to watch me cut multiple straight lines in a sense. Bam, 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 bam. There you go. And star is out. So here we go. I decided, there's a star. You know what? Let's get a little look-see. Just get a generalized idea of what that's going to look like. I was actually kind of satisfied with that. Not bad. So then I take the fan and I try to center it over the star as best I can. And then I'm going to trace out a line so I know generally what shape or size, diameter it needs to be for that new stencil I just created to sit at the bottom of the cup of that cover. There you go, line created. And that way it fits in there nice and snugly up against the bottom, so that way there's no overspray or anything like that. So I'm gonna mark this circle here real quick. Real quicker. Alright, there we go. Little glance, a little off kilter, but like I said, it's all by hand, so there's going to be some defects, but not many. So now I just got to go and run around the house with scissors. No, don't do that. But I got some. Alright, there you go. Now here a little snippy. And we're going to cut this stencil out as carefully as possible. Taking it all the way back to grade school with this one. So yeah, so this is pretty much what I do for every stencil I ever created. I go on the printer and I print it out, and I adjust the sizes in the page setup menu, and then put down some masking tape, trace it out, whatnot, cut it out. Alright, so there you go. Set it inside there. I got it all trimmed up nice and pretty like, so now it sits at the very bottom of the cup without wanting to pull up at all. So bam, there's my stencil. Alright. So now, fast forward again, and here we are. Bam, painted. So now, you see I went a little bit overboard with the tape, but hey, this green is very dark, so any brighter paint's going to show up very easily if you get any overspray anywhere, so better be safe. I'm sorry. Now we got to go ahead and peel all this tape off. There we go. Palms there. in a minute. How hard could this be? Still figuring it out. Oh, I got greedy. That's why I wanted to take it all off in one piece. That's why it's taking a little while. Alright. So, there we go. Almost there. Now, what I did is to ensure that it stayed towards the bottom, I put some extra tape on the bottom and then stuck the stencil through the holes from the bottom, so that way every bit of paper that wasn't attached or directly up against a piece of metal, it'd be held down, so that way it wouldn't want to lift up when it's sprayed on. There you go. That's all done. All I gotta do now is kind of poke it out, because the paper did get kind of stuck, which is a good thing. If it would have lifted at all, paint would have been able to get underneath there, and then that would have been it. Start the whole process over again. So there we go. There's our finished product. Star inside. Pretty good. Alright, let's fast forward once again. And we're going to get these bad boys put together. So here I'm just kind of taking a moment to see whether or not, trying to make a decision whether or not that was big enough. Or maybe if I should do it smaller. I don't know. But I think it's, at this point I was like, you know what, it's good enough, right? Did all the extra work and we'll go with that. Alright. So now we're going to go ahead and get these sirens put back together and ready to be put on the bike. Alright, a couple of screws, and she's put back together, and we'll be ready to get her on the bike. I would like to say now, headphone warning, headphone warning, headphone warning, because we got a little treat at the end. We're going to see how these guys sound, so if you're wearing headphones or earphones, I would suggest you might want to turn it down a smidge so we don't do any damage to you. So, here in a moment, I'm going to go ahead and we'll show you real quick what she looks like fully dressed up. And then we're going to give you a little taste of what it sounds like. Here she is in what I call her full dress setup. Oh yeah, look at all that glory. As I mentioned again, please be mindful of your headphones, because I'm fixing to let freedom ring. Earphone warning.